Mitch Marner is gone, and while the Maple Leafs did get a player back in return, let's be honest, they didn't get anything close to equal value for one of the most talented players, not only in Leafs history, but in the history of the league itself. No elite prospects, no franchise-changing assets, nothing in return that makes you feel comfortable losing a player of Marner's caliber. Which got me thinking about something Leaf fans probably don't even want to talk about. Is it time to start thinking about Auston Matthews differently? Now, before you call me crazy, I'm not saying the Leafs should trade Auston Matthews tomorrow. I'm asking a much tougher question. If the Leafs were willing to lose a player like Mitch Marner and receive very little long-term value in return, could they eventually find themselves facing a similar decision with Auston Matthews? And if that's even a possibility, should Toronto consider making a move while Matthews' value is still at its absolute peak? So if Auston Matthews is one of the best players in hockey, why are some Leaf fans even talking about trading him? Well, the answer isn't goals, it isn't talent, and it certainly isn't because Matthews isn't a franchise player. The answer is simple: results. For nearly a decade, the Maple Leafs have built around a core led by Auston Matthews. During that time, we've seen Rocket Richard trophies, we've seen MVP-level seasons, we've seen Matthews become the greatest goal scorer in franchise history. We've even seen Auston Matthews lead Team USA to a gold medal at the Olympics. But despite all of that success, the Leafs still haven't reached the Stanley Cup final. And after years of playoff disappointment, some fans are starting to wonder if this team is simply too top-heavy. That's where the conversation begins. Not because Matthews isn't good enough, but because his value has never been higher. If a team called tomorrow asking about Auston Matthews, the return would be massive. We all know this. And that's what makes this decision so difficult. Because nobody wants to trade a player like Auston Matthews. But some fans are beginning to ask whether keeping the core together year after year while expecting different results is really the answer. Again, I'm not saying the Leafs should trade Auston Matthews at all. What I'm saying is that another disappointing playoff exit and the departure of Mitch Marner, questions that once sounded ridiculous don't sound quite as crazy anymore. So let's say for a moment the Leafs actually considered it. What would a trade involving Auston Matthews even look like? And more importantly, could a Matthews trade actually solve the problems that have prevented this team from winning a Stanley Cup since 1967? Now imagine a team holding a top 5 pick in this year's draft calling Toronto. Now the conversation gets even more interesting because you're no longer talking about one player, you're talking about completely reshaping the future of the organization. A second top 5 draft pick, a potential blue line chip prospect, a young NHL player ready to contribute immediately? And yes, losing Auston Matthews would for sure hurt. There's no getting around that. But at some point, organizations have to stop looking backwards and start looking forward, because championships aren't won through nostalgia, they're won by building the best possible roster. For years, Toronto has built its identity around elite forwards, but one of the biggest weaknesses of this team has been its blue line. Now imagine adding a player like Chase Reed or Carson Karels or even Keaton Verhoff, the kind of defenseman who could anchor a power play, log huge minutes, and become cornerstone pieces for the next decade. You're not just adding talent, you're addressing one of the biggest organizational weaknesses the Leafs have had for years. But here's the thing, none of this is guaranteeing a Stanley Cup championship. A top 5 pick might become a star. An elite defensive prospect might become a cornerstone player. The Leafs could add depth and they could improve their blue line, but there's no guarantee any of it works, because that's the risk. The moment you trade a player like Auston Matthews, there's no undo button. If Matthews does end up staying in Toronto and the Leafs finally break through, nobody will regret keeping him. But if the playoff disappointments continue, these conversations are only going to get louder. And that's what makes this debate so interesting. On one side, you have one of the greatest players in franchise history. On the other, you have the possibility of completely reshaping the roster. Personally, I would not trade Auston Matthews. Franchise players don't grow on trees, but for the first time in a very long time, I understand why some Leaf fans are asking that question. But now I want to hear from you, Leaf Nation. Is Auston Matthews untouchable, or is there a trade package that would make you seriously consider moving him? Let me know down in the comments, because I'll be replying to everyone. And if you're wondering who would be the best player in the upcoming draft to replace Mitch Marner, then make sure to check out this video right here where I break down exactly that. If you enjoyed this video and you want more Toronto Maple Leafs content, make sure to hit that like button, ring the bell so you know when new content drops, and of course, subscribe right here at Maple Leafs Corner. Thanks for watching.